He snapped at the flashlight, teeth-bared wild eyes. But he was shaking so badly he couldn't even stand a German Shepherd puppy, barely 6 months old, acting like a wolf. But it wasn't real, it was fear. I froze in the doorway of the old shed. Light cut through the cracked slats in the walls, illuminating floating dust and broken tools. And there he was, a German Shepherd puppy, black and tan, crouched low in the straw bones, sharp beneath his fur lips, curled back one eye, icy blue the other, dark and watching like something out of a dream I didn't want to have. I'm David, a volunteer at a rescue center outside Flagstaff, Arizona that morning. I was just dropping off a trailer of hay. The barn looked abandoned, like most things around here, but something had moved inside. I'd seen it in my mirror. I thought maybe a raccoon or a coyote. I never expected this. He didn't bark, just growled low, deep but broken. It was a warning with no strength behind it. He didn't even rise from the straw. When I took a half step closer, he flinched like I'd kicked him. Flinched, then glared. But beneath that glare was something else, terror. I whispered, "Easy, buddy," and slowly crouched down. My voice was shaking too. Not because I was afraid of him. I've handled scared dogs before. But this one, he didn't look like he was surviving. He looked like he was waiting to disappear. His coat was matted with mud and dry blood. There were scratches on his legs, shallow, old, untreated. He didn't have a collar, not even a name. Just those mismatched eyes watching every twitch of my hand. I laid a folded piece of chicken on the ground near the entrance and backed away. He didn't move only when I was outside the door. Did he inch forward, sniff it once, and then collapse onto it? Like chewing was too much effort, that moment broke something in me. I'd seen fear, I'd seen aggression, but this was something else, like the fear and the aggression had fused into silence. He wasn't fighting to be saved. He was fighting to be left alone. And when I came back with water, he didn't even look at me. He turned his body to the wall, a slow, deliberate motion, and lay down with his back to the world. That was the first time I ever saw Blitz, and I'll never forget the sound of that silence. Why would a German Shepherd puppy this young choose to turn his back on life? The next morning I came back before sunrise, with a soft blanket, a fresh bowl of water, and more chicken. The shed looked exactly the same, broken, rotting, and quiet. Except this time the German Shepherd puppy wasn't curled in the same spot. He'd moved to the opposite corner, barely just far enough that the straw had shifted and left a shallow trail behind him. When I stepped in, he didn't growl, but he didn't look up either. I spoke low, like I was talking to a wounded child. "I'm not here to hurt you. You don't have to trust me. Just to stay alive, okay?" He didn't blink. I set the food down, gently slid the water bowl closer, and left. That was the rule I made. Don't rush him. Don't force it. Let him choose back at the shelter. I couldn't stop thinking about him, his eyes, the way he turned away. That kind of pain doesn't come from a week on the street. That's months, maybe more. Someone had broken this German Shepherd puppy long before I found him when I was a kid. We had a shepherd named Riley. She used to sleep under my bed and nudge me when I had nightmares. I remember her eyes, warm, curious, loyal. Blitz's eyes weren't like that. They looked like glass, like someone had replaced the soul behind them with silence. Day two. He didn't move when I came, but the food was gone, the water bowl empty. He still faced the wall, but his ears flicked when I said his name. I hadn't meant to name him, it just slipped out. "Hey Blitz, I brought the good stuff today, boiled chicken, no salt." His ear twitched again. Day three, the weather changed cold. Wind swept through the fields and the sky was heavy with gray. I brought a tarp and nailed it over the shed's doorway to block the draft. Still no sound from him, but the food was eaten before I left the property. That night, rain started, hard and steady thunder rolled over the desert hills, and I sat awake in bed, thinking about Blitz in that broken shed alone, soaked, shaking. I got in my truck before sunrise, drove fast. When I reached the barn, I expected to see him hiding, curled, frozen, but he was at the door, not moving toward me, not wagging a tail, just standing there, soaked through, head down, shivering. When I stepped closer, he flinched, but he didn't back away. And then for the first time, he looked up at me, not with trust, not with hope, just exhaustion. He didn't resist when I knelt down and wrapped him in the blanket. He didn't resist when I carried him to the truck. It wasn't surrender. It was the kind of stillness that only comes when a living thing runs out of ways to be afraid. How could a German Shepherd puppy this young already know what it means to give up? I drove with one hand on the wheel and the other gripping the blanket wrapped. Around him, Blitz didn't move. His body was stiff, like every muscle was frozen in survival mode. His head rested awkwardly on my forearm, but not in trust. More like he didn't care where he was anymore. The rain pounded the windshield as I turned off the dirt road toward home inside the cab. It was quiet. No whining, no shifting, just the sound of the engine and the downpour. I glanced at him at a stoplight. His eyes were open, watching the floor. The German Shepherd puppy didn't even look out the window. Not once. That told me more than any bark ever could when we pulled into the driveway. Milo was already at the glass door tail, wagging slowly. Ears perked my steady rock of a dog. 2 years ago, I found him wrapped in a trash bag behind a gas station dumpster. He had survived long enough to squirm his way out and crawl into the parking lot, barely 5 weeks old, barely breathing. I never forgot the way he blinked up at me, with one eye crusted shut and ribs showing like broken fence posts. Someone threw him away. Literally, I saved him. Or at least I thought I did. Now he saves me daily. I opened the passenger door, slowly. Blitz didn't react. Just let his body slump with emotion as I lifted him again. He weighed next to nothing. Bones, wet fur, and something fragile pulsing inside at the porch. He jolted the moment his paws touched the wood. His legs locked, he froze. Milo was still watching through the glass. Tail still wagging, Blitz stared at him like he'd never seen another dog before. He growled, not loud but raw, like it scraped out of him. Milo didn't flinch. He sat down. I tried coaxing Blitz forward. Even took a small step myself. Blitz didn't move. His eyes darted, his chest rose and fell in uneven bursts. I could feel panic radiating off him like heat. Then, without warning, he whipped around and slammed himself against the doorframe. I nearly dropped him. He wasn't attacking. He was trying to escape, trying to get back to the cold, the shed, the straw, because that hell was familiar. And this was too much, too bright, too warm, too close. I got the door open and carried him inside as gently as I could, whispering, you're safe, it's okay." But inside, my own heart was thundering. Because I realized something as I laid him down on the kitchen floor. This wasn't just a rescue. This was going to be war. And the German Shepherd puppy lying at my feet had already lost too many battles to believe in a new one. I didn't sleep that night. Blitz didn't make a sound. He lay on the kitchen floor like a shadow, unmoving, eyes half open, still soaking wet. Despite the towels, every time I walked past him, I expected a growl, a flinch, something. But he was stone breathing, but barely. Milo lay just a few feet away, his big white body curled like a question mark. He didn't push. He didn't approach. He just watched, head resting on his paws, ears flicking with every creak in the floor. That's who Milo was, quiet, steady, waiting at 2 a.m. I sat on the hallway floor, knees pulled up, and watched them both. Milo blinked once, Blitz didn't, I whispered. "What did they do to you, kid?" The German Shepherd puppy didn't move, but I saw a twitch in his front paw. Small, almost nothing, but it was there in the morning. I left a small bowl of broth near him, no reaction. I took Milo out for a short walk and came back to find the bowl empty. Not licked clean, just gone. He'd eaten. That should have made me feel better. It didn't, because then I saw it. The mess by the back door. Blitz had tried to claw his way out. Scratches in the wood, deep ones. He didn't bark, didn't whine. He tried to disappear. The only way he knew how, run, and when I stepped into the kitchen, he growled low. Mean, different, not fear, defense. His hackles rose like needles, his lips peeled back over yellowed teeth. His body still hadn't moved, but his eyes had changed. Not glassy, now they were burning. I didn't move, didn't speak, just stood there and let it happen. Because I recognized that look. I'd seen it before in the mirror, after I lost my brother, after the war. After everything I thought was unbreakable had shattered in one phone call. That look said, "Don't come closer, I'll hurt you even if I can't." Milo walked in calm, slow, heavy pod. Blitz turned his head, fast bared teeth, growled louder. Milo stopped, didn't flinch, didn't challenge. He sat down, facing slightly away like he wasn't even looking. And then deliberately gently, Milo laid down his side to Blitz. Not submissive, not scared, just their Blitz kept growling, but it wavered. And when he finally stopped, it didn't feel like peace. It felt like exhaustion. Later that day, I called the rescue coordinator, told her everything I expected her to say. We should bring him in, maybe isolate him, get behavioral specialists involved, but she just said, some dogs don't want to be saved, not at first, you just keep showing up. That night, I lay in bed listening for movement at 3:07 a.m. I heard its soft claws on tile, not running, not stumbling, just walking. I held my breath. Blitz padded into the hallway, stopped near my door and lay down. Didn't come in, didn't trust, but he came closer. The German Shepherd puppy had crossed a line. I didn't know he could. He entered my world. Now it was on me not to scare him out of it. By dawn, I was still awake. I hadn't moved, neither had Blitz. He was curled just outside my doorway, his body, tight tail, tucked so far under, it looked like it disappeared. Every muscle was locked in place. Even in sleep, if you could call that sleep, it looked more like someone who passed out from exhaustion. Midgard Milo stepped out of my room, saw Blitz and stopped. Blitz woke instantly. He leapt to his feet like a trap had sprung, no sound, no bark. But his teeth were bared, and for a terrifying second I saw it. Not a puppy, a weapon. And Milo didn't move. He just lowered his head slightly and backed up one step. No challenge, no fear, just a message. You're safe. I'm not here to fight you. Blitz stood frozen, chest-heaving, pupils wide and shaking softly. Calmly, when he did something that hit harder than any growl. He turned and walked away, tail tucked, head low, back into the shadows of the hallway, and that broke me more than any act of aggression could have. I followed slowly, found him in the laundry room, curled behind the dryer, tight and trembling. He'd tried. He'd left the kitchen, left the safety of the corner, stepped towards something human toward us, and when it was too much, he retreated like a soldier that had seen this all before. I sat on the floor across the room, back against the wall, and stayed there for what felt like hours. My knees hurt. My eyes burned. I didn't speak. Eventually, Milo came in. He looked at me, then at the dryer. Then quietly, he lay down beside me. Didn't force the space, didn't edge closer. He just joined me in the quiet. The house was still. No music, no phone, no movement, just the sound of a broken puppy breathing behind the machine. And then, I'll never forget it, a sound barely audible, not a growl, not a bark, a whine. High, sharp, choked off, like someone had grabbed it mid-throat. I didn't move. Milo's ears twitched, another whine softer. Then the sound of nails shifting against metal as Blitz changed position. I closed my eyes and whispered, "You're not alone anymore." That afternoon, I left the door to the laundry room open, brought in a bowl of warm broth, set it gently near the entrance, then stepped back for hours. Nothing but around dusk, I looked over and saw something that punched the air from my lungs. Blitz standing halfway in the room, not eating, not watching me, staring at Milo. And then slowly, hesitantly, he walked forward one step too. He didn't growl. He didn't run. He lowered his body down, stiff and cautious, and laid his chin on Milo's paw. My breath caught in my throat. They didn't bark. They didn't move. They just stayed like that, still and silent. Two survivors, one broken, one waiting. And in that fragile stillness, I realized something terrifying. If I made one wrong move, I could lose him forever. The German Shepherd puppy had opened a door just to crack. Now it was on me to keep it from slamming shut the next morning. I found them in the exact same position. Blitz hadn't moved. Milo hadn't either. It was as if they had made an unspoken pact during the night. I won't hurt you if you don't leave me. But Blitz's eyes were wide open. Bloodshot, he wasn't sleeping. He was surviving. I moved slowly around the kitchen, pretending not to look. Made eggs, poured coffee. Cleaned dishes, normally that was the goal. Pretend things were fine, so maybe one day they would be. I sat down a fresh bowl of food near the laundry room doorway. Blitz didn't move, but Milo did. He stood stretched and walked over to the food. Didn't touch it, just sat beside it and looked back at Blitz. It took 5 full minutes, but then Blitz stood leg stiff. Steps jerky, he crept forward inch by inch until he was beside the bowl. He didn't look at me. He didn't look at Milo. He ate fast messy, without breathing between bites, and when he finished he backed away, like he expected to be punished for it. Milo stayed where he was, calm, unmoving, watching him with quiet eyes. That afternoon I took Milo outside to the backyard. I didn't expect Blitz to follow, but 5 minutes later I heard the soft thud of paws behind me. I turned. Blitz stood just past the doorway, eyes darting, muscles coiled. I left the door open. Milo trotted into the grass and grabbed a faded green tennis ball, his favorite, and dropped it a few feet from Blitz. Didn't push, didn't demand, just offered. Blitz stared at the ball like it was a snake. Then without warning, he lunged not at the ball, but away from it, a sharp, terrified movement that sent him sprawling back into the hallway, claws skidding on tile. I froze. Milo didn't move. Blitz crouched low, pressed to the floor, tail tucked. Breathing like he'd just been chased, I whispered, "It's okay, no one's gonna throw anything." He blinked fast, once, twice, then shaking like a leaf, he slowly crawled back to the threshold. Milo nudged the ball gently with his nose. It rolled forward and bumped Blitz's paw. He flinched but didn't run. Instead, he reached out and, clumsy, hesitant, touched the ball with his paw. It didn't bite. He looked up at Milo, and Milo, steady, quiet. Milo wagged his tail once that night. Blitz did something that felt almost impossible. He walked into the living room on his own. He didn't curl up in a corner. He didn't hide. He lay down beside Milo, not touching, just close enough that their fur barely brushed. I didn't say a word, just sat on the couch trying not to breathe too loudly. Then, and I swear I'll never forget this moment, Blitz turned his head toward me and licked Milo's ear, slow, careful, like a question. Milo let out a soft huff and leaned into it. It was the first gesture Blitz had made that wasn't born of fear. It was something else, something fragile like hope. But I wasn't celebrating yet because I knew something deep in my gut. Whatever had been done to that German Shepherd puppy, it wasn't finished with him. Not yet. It hit just after noon. I had left the back door open while I unloaded supplies from the truck. A breeze pushed through the house. The sky was clear. The world seemed almost normal for a moment. Then the garbage truck came. The roar of its engine shattered the calm like a gunshot. I was in the kitchen when I heard it, claws scraping violently across tile. Something crashing into a chair. The sharp yelp of panic. I dropped the box in my hands and ran. Blitz had vanished. Milo stood frozen in the hallway, ears pinned, tail stiff. He wasn't afraid. He was alert, searching. Then I heard it, a low, guttural whimper coming from under the stairs. I crouched down, heart pounding. The German Shepherd puppy had wedged himself into the narrow crawl space, eyes wild, sides heaving like he couldn't get air. He was shaking so hard I thought he might convulse. "Blitz!" I whispered. "It's okay. It's just a truck. You're safe." But he couldn't hear me. Not really. He was gone, lost inside whatever memory that sound had pulled up. His nails scratched at the wall, not to hurt, to hide, to disappear. I didn't try to pull him out. I knew better. I just lay down beside the opening, arms stretched near him, palm up. I stayed like that for 20 minutes, no words, just presence. When Milo finally walked in, he didn't look at me. He walked straight to the crawl space and lay down close, but not too close, facing away as if to say, "No one's watching. It's okay to fall apart." Blitz's breathing slowed, the scratching stopped, and then slowly, painfully, his head edged forward, just enough to rest against Milo's back leg. It wasn't affection, it was survival, but it was enough. Later that night, as the house settled into silence, I sat alone on the porch. Milo lay beside me. Blitz was still tucked under the stairs, his eyes half closed but never relaxed. I thought about the sound that triggered him. The garbage truck, the same kind of truck I found Milo next to 2 years ago. I hadn't made the connection before, but now it hit me like a punch to the chest. What if I murmured aloud they both came from the same place? Milo lifted his head slightly, and in that moment it wasn't just a theory. It felt like the truth. The same town, the same trauma, the same way of being discarded, and maybe the same people behind it. I looked back at the door, at the sliver of fur, just barely visible under the stair frame. The German Shepherd puppy had survived something no one should ever face, and now he was trapped in the echo of it. I wasn't just fighting for his trust anymore. I was fighting to pull him out of hell the next few days. Blitz didn't leave the crawl space. He ate, barely drank only when I wasn't looking. But mostly he just lay there, eyes half-lidded, chest rising in shallow haunted rhythm. Milo would visit him in shifts, never for long, never in silence. Sometimes he'd lie near the opening. Other times he'd bring a toy and drop it just out of reach as if saying, "When you're ready, I'll be here." I tried everything, leaving the door open,